or curses among his sons. So, what's interesting about verse 26 is the word, which reads, and he said, blessed be Yahweh Elohim Shem. Now, what the term Elohim means, depending on the context, it can mean my mighty one or my God, or it can mean mighty one of or God of. So in this sense, blessed be Yahweh, mighty one of Shem. The question we have to ask ourselves, being Bible students, why was it worded that way? The answer, simply put, the Creator was letting us know the line of transmission. So when Shem was now specified, he became one of the biblical characters we have to follow from this point on, as we're going to see. So just to continue the verse, blessed be Yahweh, mighty one of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And keep that last clause in mind, because we will definitely revisit that a little later. So our next term we want to look at is Shem. Let me get that on the board for you. I believe this Mem, I think, because that is actually a part of the word. Of course, we had the Shem. Right? Now, the number in Strong's is 8035. Now, what you all already noticed about the term Shem, it is a parent root. It already consists of two letters. So, the term Shem, first off, based on 8035, simply the name of the son of Noah. But it's also derived from, it's the same word, so let's put this next number up here. Derived from the term 8034, pronounced exactly the same, Shem. An appellation as a mark or memorial of individuality. By implication, honor, authority, character. So that's what this particular word means. Now let's take a look at why it means that. So we're going to look at it then. Pictograph. Now the Shem here looks similar to what it looks above. Two front teeth. Okay? That's what the Shem is, two front teeth. And keep in mind, every aspect of two front teeth, what could that be? And again, the Mem, water. Okay? So what does that mean for us? Now teeth, because you have two, oftentimes it means to separate in the sense of making a distinction. Okay? So you separate to make a distinction. That's the first part, being distinct. That's where that whole individual comes from. But then you have water. Now how does the water apply? When you think about how human beings are made, okay, this is simple biology now. Some of the things that we learn in school can be applicable to what we learn in scriptures to give us a better understanding. But human beings are 70% water. Think about that. So, when you think about 70% of a man's consistency, a person's being, that's what the term Shem represents. A person's being, or the name representing it. And we looked at the definitions already. Okay? Now, based on the passage, the way that it was worded, we learn that Shem is a chosen vessel of Yahweh. Okay? He's a chosen vessel. Now, how many of you are familiar with this term? Submitted. Well, being submitted, what that means is that you are from this particular line of people. More properly, it should be Shemitic, but everybody understands this term, so we'll utilize that for today. And what that simply means is just to be a member of his family. Now, contrary to popular opinion, when you look at the ethnicity of a person, what we do today, we base that ethnicity on the country that they came from. In ancient times, it was never based on a land that you came from, but the land actually earned its name from the people who occupied it. And when a person was to say that I am Semitic or Shemitic or a Semite, all that simply meant is not that he came from this particular land, but that he came from this particular person. Okay? Matter of fact, there's a passage now in Shem. He had two brothers, Japheth or Japheth and Ham or Ham. Now, there's a passage, couple passages actually, that refers to the land of Ham. Okay? Now, the land of Ham is a reference to Africa. Why is that? Because that's the continent that many of Ham's descendants migrated to and populated. But it wasn't based upon what the land was called. This was Ham's family, so this is the land of Ham. I want to make that emphasis so that we understand these thoughts as we go through the word. Okay? So, Shem is a chosen vessel, and as was mentioned, each of these names we're going to look at today is twofold. It has a literal as well as a prophetic or spiritual meaning. So literally, the term Shem, being the name of one of Noah's sons, also now refers to the people who stem from this name. That's where you get our term Semitic. Alright? Prophetically now, it refers to the spirit or character of a person. The spirit or character of a person. Keep that in mind. Now, next passage we want to look at is in Bereshit chapter 10, verse 21. Genesis 10:21, which reads, unto Shem also, the father of all the sons of Eber. Think about that for a moment. Okay? The father of all the sons of Eber. Now we have to ask ourselves a question. Why is Eber specified? Now one thing that the Bible does, it gets into the genealogy of each of these sons. Why is it mentioned here that he's the father of the son of Eber, opposed to just waiting to eventually get to Eber in the genealogy? But it was written there as a sign for us to let us know who was going to be the next person of interest that we needed to focus on. So that would be Eber. But the passage continues again. Unto Shem also, the father of all the sons of Eber, the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were sons born. Verse 22. The sons of Shem, Elam. So every son that's about to be named, keep in mind, these are Semitic, Semites, because they stem from Shem. Okay? The sons of Shem, Elam, from which comes the Elamites. You learn about them in the scriptures. And Ashur. Now what's interesting, Ashur is the father of the Assyrians. So the Assyrians are also Semites. They're Semitic. And Arpachshad and